Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another special live edition of Rich and Haas. Well, you got one half of them. I'm Haas. Rich, yeah, I don't know if he's going to show up or not. He was supposed to, but I got it open for him if he comes in. But we got Dan back. I said Dan Beaulieu was
Yeah.
coming back on to talk the GOAT himself. First off, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going? I don't know what is happening right now. Hold on. I'm hearing. Oh, I just had this open here, and I had it open on YouTube, and I was so confused because I was hearing two voices and didn't know what to do. So,
Oh,
hey,
no.
now I was so lost. I don't know if anybody can see that on my face. No, I'm doing great this evening. Excited to be here. Excited to be back. Haven't been on since the Eddie Guerrero episode. So, how are you, Marcus? How you doing?
I've been good, football this past week was great, I guess you could say. Weather don't know how it wants to act. I'm shocked I'm not sick yet. I mean, it's been cold all week. Now it's gonna get warm tomorrow and it's supposed to be warm for the weekend. And by Monday, we're gonna have temperatures in the 30s all of a sudden. So
Hmm.
the flu
What's what?
trying to get to me. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's like 20 degrees out here, here in New Hampshire. So yeah, the cold has already got us. So, but what are you
It's
gonna do?
51 right now where I'm at, but like when I wake up tomorrow, it's supposed to be like in the 60s, like mid 60s, upper 60s. Supposed to get no higher than like 73.
Hmm.
But and then we're having our Christmas break this weekend, and usually we thought it was gonna be colder, but I think it's gonna get no colder than maybe like 61, or if you're lucky in the late 50s. But I
Hmm.
digress.
I'm jealous. I mean, we we're not gonna get that again this year. So
Oh no, y'all go get like real cold. The actual cold till like what, March maybe or April.
yeah, to March starts to sort of warm up, but they're pretty cold months. But I mean, as weather patterns have changed over the years, like there's been some warm days in New Hampshire that were not like that when I was a kid. But we already got hit by snow because we've been really. Oh, and Wyndham is already trying to make an appearance here. He's crying to get in. Um, yeah, like we've been stretching softball out to like December, and this year not happening. We got the snow already, so you know.
I was gonna say, did y'all get snow? Or y'all still having snow now? Or y'all still dealing with that, or it all cleared
Yeah,
up?
no, it's here. I think we got hit about a week ago, pretty good, and it was enough to. It's still out there, and but it was warmer yesterday. I don't know what the degrees were, but the black ice was like real bad out there, and that's just New England living, you know.
We got a taste of that back in January. Like we had record snow, and we don't get snow maybe like once every 10 years, but this past January, we had about 30 something inches. Like it was up there. And I remember roads were closed for 2 days. I missed work for 2 days. I still got pictures on my Facebook and everything. Like I felt like I was in Colorado.
Yeah,
Like that's we've never seen that much snow in Louisiana. The last time I've seen snow like that was probably like in New Mexico when I was out there,
yeah.
but not down south like that. Like I've never seen by that much. The most I've ever seen before that was maybe not even half a foot. Like we just got a little bit to make the smallest snowman possible. But we had so much you could make the biggest snowman possible.
Yeah, yeah.
That's every
I
day
don't.
for
We
you
get
though.
that's pretty much every. Yeah, and it is what it is. But I'll tell you. I mean, the winters have felt shorter here. I'm not gonna lie. Since when I was younger, um, they definitely, like I said, we've stretched how long we're playing outside more than I've ever seen. We're out back, in April generally. So, um, but I don't mind that because I like being outside. I do not enjoy the winter. I do not like enjoy being stuck inside all the time. So,
Well, with how expensive hoodies and jackets can be for me, it's like I'm glad we got this weather so I can wear it.
yeah. But anyways, John Cena, last match coming up. I'm excited about this show. A lot of takes that are going to be interesting, I think, here.
Yeah, and questions are coming in too, like skeptical of this and that. Like, I know when we'll get to the Saturday night main event talk later, but like I'm here to kind of resemble, look back, but in a way where he's not gone. He's still in this world. We're gonna treat it like if it's one of them tribute shows, but we're not sorrowing. We're not we're excited. We're celebrating. If we're feeling sad, it's because after Saturday we'll never see him in a ring again as a competitor. That's how I feel like this is going to be with me tonight, because I don't think I've ever done a tribute show for anyone that is still alive.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling retirements, John Cena's kind of done something that a lot of people don't generally do with their retirements. Usually the retirements just kind of come out of nowhere. I don't know if Hulk Hogan ever really had a last match, or what he said was going to be his last match. Randy Savage never had a match that said, "Hey, this is going to be my last match." Triple H never had a retirement tour. It's very rare. We've seen it more lately. We got to see that with Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, and some others. But a lot of times people just kind of quietly. I guess Ric Flair had his last match in his 70s, but again, probably his 9th last match. But this whole retirement year tour has been something that we've never really seen before. No one's ever really done a retirement tour like this, at least in WWE. I know people have done that in the independents, but we never seen anything like this.
Plus, I've never did any. This is the first I'm doing something like this for someone that's fixing to retire. Because, trust me, to be honest, if this was a thing like 20-something years ago, I guarantee you I'd have did something like this for Stone Cold. I'd have did something like this for Shawn Michaels. I'd have did something like this. Hell, if I would have did something like this for The Undertaker 5 years ago, but we didn't even do that.
No, I mean, and Austin's another one though. Like he retired unexpectedly. We really didn't know that he was never going to wrestle again. And then it just kind of happened. The Rock, who knows with him? Like so like I said, the Cena retirement tour. I got a feeling this is going to be a trend we're going to see with a lot of different wrestlers doing like a 1-year thing. But it's been fascinating to say the least.
I will say I'm one of the lucky ones when it comes to Stone Cold. I was lucky enough to say I was actually at his very last match, if you want to count his little WrestleMania match with Kevin Owens, an official retirement match.
In a way that was, how many years after the fact? 20, let's see, that was in
19.
What, 2022? Okay, it was 19 years. That's since, to finally get that last match.
Yeah, because to be honest, I didn't think they were gonna do it the way they did it. I thought it was gonna be something like The Rock did with Eric Rowan when they were in that same stadium for 8 seconds. No, they went like 20-something minutes, even though he didn't have his usual trunks on and whatnot. Kevin worked with them well, and they just not killed it out the ballpark. And I'm like, this might be the greatest comeback for one last match I've ever seen for a guy like that, which I get why for The Undertaker they had to go the route they did with the cinematic match, but I guarantee you, if we'd have known he was going to retire that year and the pandemic wouldn't have happened, I think they'd have did it the right way with AJ in front of an actual crowd at WrestleMania that year instead of a cinematic boneyard match.
No, they definitely would have. I mean, I saw a lot of criticism at the time when that happened. And I said to myself, I was like, we're in the middle of a pandemic here, like, and we're splitting hairs on if this is the Undertaker's last match or whatever. I just thought it's just kind of, the guy had a lot of matches. I don't know. But Austin, I will say, very unique. 19 years later, I figured he'd hit a few stunners. They'd just have a fight, but they went all out. It was a match, and tip of the cap to that, because that was really a good exclamation point to 19 years later, but glad he did it.
So when you go back to we talk about this John Cena guy, you want to go back to to the very beginning. Did you watch that SmackDown live whenever he just came out and confronted Kurt Angle with the Invitational, and slap heard all over the world saying, what makes you qualified to compete against me? And he said ruthless aggression, and just strapped a rocket to him, and then it just went on from there.
Yeah, I mean, it took some time. I don't recall if I mean that I believe that was sometime in the spring, which I probably was not watching at that time. I was also when that happened, it's the start of the ruthless aggression era. What's not talked about a lot is like this is right around the time of the first draft where they were, they separated the rosters. They were no longer the World Wrestling Federation. They were now going to be World Wrestling Entertainment. So, I knew of John Cena at that point. I didn't see that live. I did see, he had some matches because I know he'd go on to have a match with Jericho around there. I was very aware of John Cena, but obviously that was not the John Cena that we were going to get, about a year later, which he honestly, he's talked about it. I think a lot of us never realized he was very close from what he said to not having a job. At that point, he wasn't really, there wasn't anything to him. He looked like a jacked Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't much to him.
Well, I mentioned it before when I've talked about Cena in the past. So I remember the SmackDown. It was actually after King of the Ring when Kurt Angle finally got rid of the wig and the little wrestling chin deal that you wear around your head, the little
Headgear.
whatever you want to, the headgear, the bald head, and so. But I always said he had that creative wrestler look. Like he just wore like your traditional wrestling boots, knee pads, tights. But he went by colors of where they were in the city. So like he debuted in Chicago. So he was wearing red and black, like if he was the Chicago Bulls or the Blackhawks. And he did that like everywhere he went. Like he was in Boston, he would wear green and white if he wasn't wearing black and yellow for the Bruins, or even navy and red for New England or the Red Sox. His first pay-per-view in Detroit, he wore red and white for the Red Wings because he had his first pay-per-view match against Jericho in Detroit, which I'll never forget. Like Vengeance 2002 was one of my favorite underrated pay-per-views, but I'll never forget like how big of an upset that was at the time. His first pay-per-view match, he beat a guy who called himself the King of the World, a former undisputed champion, the guy who beat Stone Cold and The Rock the same night, in Chris Jericho, which that was big for him. In a very good match too.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, from the get, because I do think WWE likes to rewrite history. I'm not sure, he talks about how he was almost released, and I'm not totally sold on that. I think there's some exaggeration because, like you said, that debut with Kurt Angle, he had a match right off the bat with Chris Jericho, and it did obviously didn't hurt him because Fandango had a nice little win over Chris Jericho and did nothing for him, but and he got a stamp of approval very early from The Undertaker. Now, I say that. If you look back at the Ruthless Aggression era, though, there was a lot of guys that they looked like they were going to push to the moon. Heidenreich, Nathan Jones, there's a list of them. Mordecai, Matt Morgan, that never went anywhere, right? So when he, I don't want to, I feel like they're rewriting history a little bit, but they did actually can a lot of people back then. Luther Reigns,
Snitsky. Maven.
Yeah, and I mean Maven had a run, but do you remember like in that time period where they would bring a guy out, right? They would hype him up, and it's gonna be the next thing, and then they just like scrapped it. We're done. Kozlov, Mordecai. I come back to. Was it Mordecai? Was that his name?
He was Kevin Thorne. Yeah, and then it was Kevin Thorne after that. Yeah,
that was supposed to be this big thing, and it just, I mean, obviously it fell flat very fast, and they gave up on it. But if you look back at the Ruthless Aggression era, they gave up on people really quick. So that story, as much as I want to discredit it, because I don't believe they were ever going to fire John Cena, maybe they were. I don't know.
I didn't believe that. I when he said that in multiple interviews, I'm like, how? Because it's like you were able to get that far before that gimmick change that became so iconic. You were just, I guess people were getting bored with, it's just the guy that wears the matching tights of wherever city they're from, but he never really got to get on the mic or nothing. They just would have him come out and wrestle good. People were getting tired of that. They wanted to see a change. And I felt like it was more of a test to him, like saying, "Oh, we're gonna have you try this character out, and if it doesn't work, then you're done." I felt like it was more of a test instead of saying, "We're about to fire you unless you do something." And he stated, "I remember I used to have that DVD, Word Life, his first DVD he dropped, and he said at the very beginning, he said, SmackDown on Halloween in 2002 fell on a Thursday. Well, Halloween aired on a Thursday in 2002, but they taped it on Tuesday nights and it showed on TV on Thursdays. So they were doing their usual Halloween party and they gave him the option. They say, we want you to either dress as Eminem or Vanilla Ice. So he was pretty old school, and he grew up in the 80s. He was born in the late 70s, so 80s was his childhood. Yeah. Vanilla Ice, one hit wonder, but Vanilla Ice was pretty hot in the late 80s with his one single. And
that's a better costume than Eminem too, I think.
I would have loved to see how he would have dressed as Eminem. You think he'd have just wore like a beanie and a hoodie, or he think he'd have bleach blonde his hair?
Yeah, he would have to bleach blonde the hair. You can't do 50s Eminem. If you're gonna be Eminem, I want to see white tee, blonde hair.
Yeah. Don't do B Rabbit from 8 Mile. It's got to be blonde hair, white tee, blue.
And that movie had just come out actually around that time period. I think it came out in November that year.
8 Mile was my thing. Like, I didn't see it in theater. I didn't get to see it until like early 2003 when it hit the movie store. I didn't go see it in theaters. I wait till it came out. So it was about early 2003 when I was finally able to watch it, and I really enjoyed it.
I was so anti that movie before I saw it because I hated when rappers would be in movies at the time, and I was like, this is gonna stink. And then I saw it and I was like, ooh, that's one of my favorite movies. But yeah, sorry.
And he did like old school, like Vanilla Ice. Like they had the hair all slicked and up. He had the silk purple suit. But Vanilla Ice had some cool, sick raps too back then. People said this movie was a crock of garbage. You ever saw his movie Cool as Ice?
No, I haven't. I didn't even know it existed.
It came out I want to say it came out like in 89 or 90. People have shit on it, but I actually enjoyed it. Like, that's when I really got to see him do those dance moves and do sick rhymes and whatnot. And he was a shitty actor, but it was his moves and his singing that made me enjoy it, even though people criticized the movie. But people are only gonna remember him in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze, or even That's My Boy. Ninja Go. Or That's My Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he debuted, and I didn't see that episode either. But that's what started to say, hey, maybe you have something here, and he could actually rap. Like, he could actually rap.
So I didn't watch that whole episode, obviously, to remember. I thought he just had one clip where he was in the back doing his rap on a woman that, like, I don't know how many females dressed as a witch for Halloween besides Stephanie McMahon. But no, it happened multiple times, like multiple skits. Like every time they'd show the Halloween party in the backstage area, he's always rapping at somebody. So he did it more than once, and then it kind of it became a thing. And then that's when he started coming out in sports jerseys and wearing snapbacks. And then he started really rhyming, and then it became addicting to see. And then I was all in for it. I'm like, hey, I kind of dress like this. I started getting into rap music. I'm like, I love this version of John Cena, and I got very hooked on him, especially when he was a heel as the Doctor of Thugonomics.
Yeah, those were good times. I honestly was like keeping tabs on wrestling, but I wasn't watching it as much. 2003 was a weird year for me in watching, but at that point, though, what I really started to notice was when I would tune in, Cena started to have that crowd go in his favor, and I really liked the name Dr. Thugonomics. Like, I thought that name was super cool, and he was doing something kind of different. Like, we'd seen rap gimmicks before. It's not like he was the first to do it, but he was the first to really start to do those insults right before the match. which was something pretty unique at the time.
And it's the jerseys I got because it's like I loved how earlier today I saw it on Instagram. WWE did like a whole collage of like every single jersey he ever came out in. They had like, if you have Instagram, they have 6 different pages of like a collaboration of videos of him coming out. Like they had one, the first clip was like every single baseball jersey he wore, which shockingly, I don't think he wore every single MLB team. If he did, I'm actually shocked. But only thing I can say is yes, he has wore a Houston Astros jersey before. The 2003 Royal Rumble, he wore Nolan Ryan's rainbow jersey when he came out in his Royal Rumble debut.
All I can say is John Cena, though, is not a legit Red Sox fan. And I think he's even said that in interviews because no Red Sox fan
would ever wear Yankees.
Where every year they would wear Mets, even in that role, but they would not wear a Yankees jersey. And he gave an interview in 2008 where he said, I kind of lean towards the Tampa Bay Rays. And I was like, the Tampa Bay Rays? Granted, they were good then. They beat the Red Sox that year in the ALCS. But anytime I saw John Cena wearing a Yankee shirt, I was like, ugh, just something a true New Englander would never do.
Well, I know because they did it in like, they went from most to least. So he's worn more baseball jerseys than any other sport. And I thought maybe he has worn every team. I could be wrong, but I know he's worn throwbacks, especially when Montreal still had a team. He once came out in a Montreal Expo jersey. I can tell you the least jerseys he's ever worn was hockey jerseys. I think they said he's only, in those videos, he only wore like maybe 3 or 4. He wore a Wayne Gretzky one for the Oilers. I know that. He wore a Montreal Canadian one before. And
something a New Englander also would never do. True New Englanders never wearing that,
And I want to say, I forgot who the third hockey team was. It might have been the Rangers, maybe, or I don't remember, Rangers or the Islanders. I can't tell, but. And most of the jerseys he's worn were like throwbacks or iconic like players. Like he didn't wear a lot of current players, except like if he was in Cleveland, then yeah, he wore like a LeBron jersey or something. But like
I remember him wearing a Brian Urlacher jersey.
Yeah, he did that. Now this is gonna hurt you too. With him being a Bostonian, he wore the Lakers jersey more than any other NBA team, and I can tell you for a fact he wore Kobe, he wore Shaq, he wore Magic Johnson, he wore Jerry West, he wore he wore like 5 different Laker jerseys, and they showed them all.
Yeah, I mean a Lakers jersey is not great, but Yankees is like that's in the DNA of a New Englander to never, ever, ever wear under any circumstances. Kobe, I think a lot of people will wear Kobe, especially since he's passed. But yeah, I can't say I ever agreed with him doing that. But again, he's not really a Red Sox guy. I don't think he's really a New England sports fan. I just don't think he is.
And funny too is like Celtics. The only one I recall that he wore was a Bill Russell Celtics jersey. Larry Bird, he actually wore his Indiana State jersey one time when they were in Indiana. He has worn college jerseys too, like iconic players. Like he wore him for Indiana State. He wore Magic Johnson's Michigan State jersey once. He also wore his Lakers jersey too. I'm talking about any. I don't ever recall him wearing a Michael Jordan jersey. I know he wore a Scottie Pippen Bulls jersey once.
I like that.
He's worn Dr. J for the Sixers once. He even wore a lot of Phillies jerseys, like Herschel Walker when he was with the Eagles. He wore Tim McGraw's dad, who played for the Phillies before he passed away. What was his name? Mac McGraw?
Yeah, that sounds. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Tim McGraw, the country singer, his daddy was a famous baseball player for the.
I didn't Phillies. Even know that. I just learned something. I did not know that about Tim McGraw.
When 2004, the Rumble was in Philly. He died like a week before that Rumble in Philly, and he wore that Phillies jersey when he came out. And in his backstage interview, he wore his jersey and did a little tribute for him in his freestyle rap backstage. But he did
Okay.
college jerseys too. But NFL too. Like I've only seen him out of the two teams I have. I've only seen him in Nolan Ryan's Astros jersey for the 2003 Rumble, and when SmackDown was in New Orleans one time, he came out in an Archie Manning Saints jersey. Like that time, no Joe Horn, no Deuce McAllister, no Ricky Williams, like Archie Manning.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if you're a sports fan, you probably got a kick out of the jerseys that he would, wear, which was something interesting about him, and that's what hip hop culture at the time really was in. I don't feel like people wear jerseys like that anymore. I don't think it's like the thing like it used to be.
Because
But
everybody
Mitchell,
changes teams so quick.
yeah, like Mitchell and Ness was such a big thing back then. Like I remember I would have a lot of throwback jerseys back in the day. I thought they were the coolest things ever.
What was I'll say one thing about him to kind of keep it going. Obviously, you were there the last time he was in Boston and he won the IC title. We talked about that, but you remember the very first time you saw him? Okay, there you go. You remember the very first time you saw him in person?
John Cena. First time I probably saw him in person. Well, it probably was. Let's see. Oh, actually, I do know. I remember I went to that Backlash in 05. Because like 2005 is when I started really going to wrestling events because you become an adult and you have your own money. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we went to a Raw that year. It was in December at the Garden, and he was feuding with Kurt Angle, and he did some with Kurt Angle in the main event. But I remember Kurt Angle at the time, Daivari was his manager,
personal manager or referee or whatever. Yep.
and what I recall mostly about that night was Tajiri was heading back to Japan, so it was the last night at Tajiri. But I've seen I never really saw The Rock in Austin that many times live. Like I saw Austin maybe once or twice. Probably The Rock same. I've seen Cena live more than I probably can count. I do remember specifically though, cool John Cena moment. 2015, they did a house show in Manchester, and he wrestled, I think, Seth Rollins. And at the time, like I was always back and forth with Cena. I love to say Cena sucks, but when he was wrestling The Rock at WrestleMania 29, I was all about Cena for that one. But I remember like John Cena that night, my buddy Pat brought his son, and at John Cena's walking back, and his son got to hug John Cena and get a little picture with him.
Oh wow.
That was really,
awesome.
really cool. We are like, John, you gotta say hi to this kid. Because we had floor seats. We are like, you gotta say hi to this kid, and he came over, and that was a really cool moment. And his son's much older now. I think he might be in high school. And but that was definitely a moment that he'll remember forever.
Oh yeah. First time I ever saw John Cena, January of 2007. We hosted the Go Home Raw before the Rumble in San Antonio. This was when he was the WWE champion. He was feuding with Umaga.
Oh yeah.
He came out and interrupted Vince McMahon talking, and this was when Coach was you could say the quote unquote GM of Raw, or the one who was in charge of Raw. He may not have been GM, but like he was running Raw because they may not had a GM at the time. It might have been just Teddy Long on SmackDown. Coach was like just saying random shit to piss off McMahon, and he was like, "Well, I guess all these Cajuns want to see you in action." And he's like, "You're gonna fight Jonathan Coachman." Jonathan's like, "I don't want to wrestle." Cena come out to wrestle. It ended up being a gauntlet match. He's like, "If you want me, you got to get through these guys first." And there was like jobber after jobber after jobber until like it started off with like Lance Cade, Trevor Murdoch, Kenny Dykstra. Kenny Dykstra, Viscera when he was the Love Machine with the silky pajamas, the Great Khali. Like he ran through all them guys, and then he finally got his hands on Coach. As soon as he got in the ring, all it took was one FU. It was still the FU in 07, got the win, and then that moment where Umaga ambushed him, hit him with a Samoan spike, and did the Samoan splash through a table, and that's when Cena hurt his spleen. And he was They were saying he was quote unquote fighting with an injured spleen. And if you ever go back and watch the 07 Rumble, if you see in the video package when he does that Samoan splash off the top, if you see a white poster in the background, that was me holding it. We had four speaks for that Raw. You won't really see me or really see what I wrote. I don't even remember what I wrote. I wrote something for Umaga.
That's when Umaga was pretty hot at the time.
I probably like wrote something dumb like Umaga last man eating or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I tell you a crazy moment too. Like one of the craziest things I've ever saw, and it became a meme that involves Cena. That whole John Cena and Randy Orton versus the entire Raw roster. I was at that Monday Night Raw, and it happened here in my backyard.
Oh wow!
2 weeks before WrestleMania 24, it was on St. Patrick's Day too, and that was like. And it was like an elimination style match, but I remember they turned it as a meme like a couple years ago. Like, man, don't hate on this. I had to attend this damn nonsense, but they ran through them and damn near eliminated everybody, but not everybody. I think they were down to like JBL and Umaga. JBL went to get a chair and he missed Orton and he hit Umaga, and Umaga just got pissed and chased him out of the arena. And Cena and Orton were by themselves. Still, Triple H came out and pedigreed both of them.
Oh,
because it was leading to that triple threat for WrestleMania 24.
Oh yeah.
But you have any crazy moment like you can think of like that you can remember, whether if you were there or not?
Let me see. Nothing really. I mean, I think the big moment was when Pat's son Jackson really got to meet John Cena. That was really cool. I mean, I was there for WrestleMania 29 when he beat The Rock. That was
oh, you were there.
Yeah, I was there for that with my buddy Pat. He got tickets the week of. The owner of Modell's was like, "Hey Pat, I heard you want to go to WrestleMania. Here's 4 tickets. Just go." And then we went.
Free tickets, huh? Hell yeah.
Yeah. And our buddy Brian, who just recently passed away, he was there too, and that was an incredible night. Incredible WrestleMania to be at. Like, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean,
y'all had nosebleeds, or y'all had like very good view seats or anything?
Decent, not like all the way at the top, but decent. They weren't on the floor or anything like that. I have pictures somewhere on my Facebook from it. I was there when when Punk wore like the Yankees style tights and they wrestled at Night of Champions in Boston.
Yeah,
but
with the Yankee pinstripe gear. I didn't know that until like they did something on the WWE Network. I don't know if it was like WWE, not Rival. It might have been WWE Rivals or something. And Punk was like, "Is Punk wearing Yankee pinstripes in Boston?" And I'm like,
"Yeah,
oh my holy crap, he is."
Yeah. And it's an era where everybody's cheering for Punk and they're booing Cena. I was there at the Garden in SummerSlam 2006 when he wrestled Edge, and I was there. And I know a lot of people look back and they say that was a pro Cena crowd. It was not. It was a pro Edge crowd. So he really did. That was an era where Cena really, people were against the Super Cena character, and I feel like he always did get booed in Boston when I was there. And I want to say the other real cool moment was WrestleMania 35. I was there when he showed up, and again wearing Yankees.
Wore Babe Ruth jersey.
Yeah, but we were going nuts for that. Yeah, there's just been I've seen him wrestle on pay-per-view a lot of times that I can think of. So
the first time I saw him wrestle on pay-per-view, it was Vengeance Night of Champions in the summer of 2007, the same night we found out about Chris Benoit. And
oh, geez, yeah.
He was supposed to fight Punk, and it ended up being Nitro, John Morrison, Johnny Nitro. And well, correction, we didn't find out about it until the next day. When I saw Raw and they showed his in-memory picture, we were like, what the hell? No, like, I remember they on the network, they cut it all out, but like Justin Roberts was like, and after Punk came out, it was like, and his opponent, the man who will replace Chris Benoit, Johnny Nine. We were like, wait, what? Why is he getting replaced? And then questions were coming like, what, did he get suspended? Did he get fired? Did he quit? Like, we were like, what? Like, nobody thought what he did. That was nobody in nobody's heads that was around me. We were like, why is he not here? And then
that's how everybody felt.
Yeah,
that's how the internet felt. I'll say another. Yeah.
Huh? Oh no, I was going to say he was in the main event. He defended his title. They called it a WWE Championship Challenge, but it was basically a fatal 5-way with him, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, Mick Foley, and Booker T, all former world champions. Like, it was a fatal 5-way. It was like an all-star 5-way. And Cena retained. He hit an AA on Mick Foley and pinned him and retained.
Oh yeah, he was wrestling then too. The only other Cena moment that I recall too live was the greatest 2 minutes in wrestling history was in the Cody Roman Reigns WrestleMania 40 main event when it was just like, whose music's gonna hit next, And
you were there too for that, huh? You're at 40?
Yeah, that was incredible. That whole sequence of like, who is going to be, and here's John Cena's music. Boom, here's The Rock. Oh my God, it's The Undertaker, which we all thought, everybody was chanting Austin because that's what everybody thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And obviously they never got the deal done, but yeah, a lot of incredible moments.
How many Manias you went to?
I've been to 3. And somehow John Cena ended up at all of them. Yeah.
I've been and Cena, no, he wasn't at, he was at 3 of the 4 I went to, 25, 30, 34, and 38. We would have had 42, but that got taken from us.
Yeah, that's not right.
We got Money in the Bank instead, but don't worry, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna end up going somehow. I'll be in the area or not far from it. LSU got Clemson week 1, and then the next night I'll probably be in New Orleans for Money in the Bank. It's all Labor Day weekend, which don't make sense. Money in the Bank after SummerSlam don't make no sense at all. But no, I first WrestleMania 25. In my life I ever heard the time is now. That live. That was my favorite John. My favorite John entrance when they had National Guard guy all dressed like John Cena, and then like a little tunnel for him to come out, and they were just doing that, and it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah, 25. That's all the Cenas.
Yeah, that was all like National Guard soldiers that did that.
Oh, really?
That was so cool.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite entrances he did.
Yeah, I always remember that one, and then the even the one the following year where they had the Marines like doing the marching and walking and doing like flipping the like guns.
Yep.
When he fought Batista. Didn't care for MGK singing them out. Didn't care for the choir singing them out for 27. Didn't care for that USA video package they did for him against Rusev. I don't even remember what other kind of crazy. No, I did like the one they did in Chicago where CM Punk was one of the gangsters in the car.
The Al Capone
that one was
style.
pretty cool.
I honestly, I really like. I'm not a big into the WrestleMania entrances, but I can say, like, if you look back at the WrestleMania 21 entrance, that one I like a lot because that is about to be his crowning moment as the guy. Like, you just knew he was winning the WWE title that night. And I really actually like his entrance with Wyatt at 30. Just the way he's walking.
He fought Wyatt. Yeah.
He was just so serious.
He also fought him in that. He also fought him in that Firefly Funhouse match, but he didn't really have nothing special there. That was just, it went from coming out in front of no one and then just magically get teleported into a cinematic match. Which
that's my favorite cinematic match ever is that particular one.
You know, as much as I criticized that WrestleMania, because out of nowhere, it just happened. Like everything got canceled. Everything had to be pre-taped and everything. I actually had the nerve to go back and rewatch that match plus the Boneyard match. And I'm like, this was actually good shit.
They were great. I honestly loved that. I loved that WrestleMania for the sure fact is we had nothing at that time. And the fact that we got still a WrestleMania, it was those cinema. I like the cinema. If you don't do those matches all the time, then they're a lot of fun, you know.
But it got robbed of two things. It got robbed of Undertaker having one final match before his retirement to the sunset, and it also took away Bray Wyatt having an actual WrestleMania moment in front of fans before he passed away.
Yeah, which you couldn't, no way to predict that, but yeah, I mean overall they gave the fans something, and that's what really started the two nights. And now the two
Yeah.
nights, I can't imagine going back to one night. Like I remember at first being like, no, you can't do two nights. And now seeing what it is all these years later, I'm like, oh, you have to have two nights. The two nights are awesome.
You think even if the pandemic never would have happened, you think they'd have still went that route, went two nights, because you'd either had to go two nights or you'd have had like a damn 6-7 hour WrestleMania.
I remember reading dirt sheets saying that they were seriously considering two nights before the pandemic, and then the pandemic gave them all that they needed to say, "Yep, this is what we're going to do." And it's fantastic. And I'll tell you, going to WrestleMania 29, WrestleMania 35, WrestleMania 40 blew it out blew the doors off it, because there's just something about going to the stadium two nights, and you get through night one of WrestleMania and you're like, oh my God, I will be back here tomorrow. Like it's a cool experience. It's crazy the prices that are now, but it's
38 was two nights as well. So like I've been in that boat too. Like I got to go in AT&T Stadium back-to-back nights. And after that Stone Cold KO match, when it closes out, and I'm like, I'm coming back tomorrow. It ain't over. I don't have to go home. We got more tomorrow. Like
it's awesome.
We didn't even have the damn Roman Brock match yet. That's tomorrow night.
It's unbelievable. I mean, honestly, like you go to your hotel, you're leaving the stadium, and you're like going back to your hotel, and you're just like, I'm coming back here tomorrow. Like this is just the start. And by the end of Sunday night, you're like, ooh, that was a weekend. That was a weekend. And we went to NXT that time. So
as much as I despise the city of Dallas, that was probably one of the greatest weekends ever, because I did about everything you can do. I literally went to 5 shows in 3 days.
That's awesome.
When I first got there, and like from 4 different companies. Like I went to a GCW show right when I got there. I went to For the Culture. Then after that, I went to Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. I got to be there for FTR versus the Briscoes, best tag team match I ever saw. Then the next night, I went to NXT Stand and Deliver. And then after that, I went 20 more miles to Arlington and went to WrestleMania Night 1. And then when Sunday came, I went to WrestleMania Access and the Superstore and all that. I spent maybe like half the day over there trying to meet wrestlers, getting back in the 2K22 scene with the new control play after they canceled 21 after how bad 20 was. And then went back for night 2 and had so much energy. I hit a C4 and drove 7 straight hours back. I didn't get home till 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's a grueling drive. Yeah.
Woke up, thought I had a hangover because like I slept all day and I had no energy to watch Raw. You thought I was hungover and I didn't drink 1 drop of alcohol.
I don't eat, dude. Honestly, after the 2 nights, like I couldn't imagine staying another night for Monday Night Raw. Like Saturday at 40, it's 11:30, right? And you're already in an arena to watch NXT. And there's something cool about being at a wrestling show that early, and knowing like this is just kicking off the day. And then you're hanging out in a parking lot with just nothing but wrestling fans. Like how much better can it get?
I had the best time hanging with wrestling fans when I was at the second Mania in New Orleans, because everywhere I was turning, everyone was either too sweet in me or wishing me a happy Rusev Day.
Yeah. I love the cosplay that goes on too. Like I really do like that. You know.
Which, back to the Cena thing, probably one thing that upset me because they hyped it so much and it was the biggest crock of garbage. I felt like they could have did better with his Undertaker match at WrestleMania 34. It was a squash match for Cena, and it really disappointed me.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed what it was for what it was. I thought it was hilarious that him just sitting in the crowd hanging out. I thought that was a good element to it until the Undertaker actually showed up. So was I mad that it was a squash? I can't say that I was, because I just found the whole way they did it. I just really thought it was entertaining. He's sitting out there in the crowd drinking a beer like 2 hours before, and
running through the stage after Charlotte ended Asuka's streak. Yeah,
yeah,
it was crazy.
It was good stuff.
I'm gonna bring up some hilarious moments here. I got one in mind. You want to talk about raps? I mean, anytime he did a freestyle, you never know what he's gonna say. One I'll always remember. So it was the night after No Mercy 05. They were always in Corpus. Remember Carlitos Cabana?
Yeah.
He was doing an interview with Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels because they had like a hell of a Iron Man match at the Raw Homecoming when Raw moved back to USA Network, and they ended in a draw. They did a 30-minute Iron Man match. It ended in a draw, and he interviewed both of them before they got interrupted by like Big Show, Edge, Lita, and then here comes John Cena. And then he's just one at a time. He hits a rap on each one. But like remember Kurt Angle used to wear that mouthpiece. He told Kurt Angle, he's like,
the wrestling
whether you like it or not, Kurt Angle's going south. Forget your mouthpiece. I'll put my piece in your mouth. Told Carlito, instead of spitting out apples, you should choke on these nuts. He threw a pack of these nuts at him. Called Lita a slut and said, y'all should run the other way when you see her. I shook her hand last week and she gave me gonorrhea. It was one of the funniest lines ever. Pulled out a pinwheel out of his back pocket and told Edge, I'm like a pinwheel, so go ahead and blow me.
Yeah.
It was great. I always laugh at that constantly. That's like one rap I always remember he did, or freestyle roasting, and he roasted everybody in that ring. He even roasted Shawn Michaels.
He was the master of that for sure.
PhD in thugonomics. You have a funny moment Cena did, or a lot of people say they loved when he slapped Stephanie's ass, or any of his freestyle raps. What you got from Cena that was like an all-time favorite, hilarious moment?
I mean, there's a bunch, but honestly, like when I was writing down like my Cena moments, the big thing that just kept hitting me, because honestly, it is what kind of really got the John Cena sucks crowd going. But ECW One Night Stand 2006 was there's some comedy, there's some comical stuff going on there as well, but when Cena knew he was going into hostile territory, and he knew he was a babyface, right, and he just completely owned it. Like, I mean, what a professional, and what a job that he did that night. When he's walking to the ring, he's got the belt over his head and he's got the serious look, and he gets in the ring, and it's pro RVD. It's very anti-WWE audience, and he's still going to do his John Cena stuff, right? And Cena gets in the ring, and, he throw his shirt to the crowd, right? And it was the first time ever that I recall, because I don't think it ever happened again, that they threw the shirt back, right? And Cena could have just said, all right, they don't want the shirt. What does he do? He throws it back to the crowd, right? And do you remember that one guy catches it, big, tall, black guy? He catches it.
He wipes his ass with it. He spits on it, throws it back.
And I remember watching that. Yeah.
Stood over the barricade and was like,
yeah.
Like, come on, step up.
I was watching that at a Hooters in Nashua, and I was dying because I was like, this is absolutely amazing because you have these rabid, ECW audience, and you have the face of the company, John Cena, who is this babyface character, and he is playing right into the audience as that guy they hate. And it's just one of those, incredible moments of he didn't really have to do that, right? When Batista and Big Show, they were in a very different situation, right? When they went live in front of that crowd, and they didn't know what to do, right? They're all booing them. They don't know what to do. John Cena went in there and he played to it, and it was fantastic. Like, I mean, it was everything you could have wanted in a main event for ECW One Night Stand, So that's one of my favorite John Cena moments because it was letting the audience know how they feel about him as that baby face. But the fact is that he is just so good at what he does that he just said, okay, I'll play to this. And he nailed it.
I liked where he threw it and it went in one of those little balcony deals that the Crusaders were in the year before, and a guy caught it and he had a cannon of an arm and it threw it right back and it went in the ring.
Yeah. That whole pay-per-view is amazing, but like, man, did he really embraced it, and I think that was something that showed who John Cena was, the performer, because he could work that. And I don't think you know to his credit, Batista couldn't do that. Big
And
Show
he put
couldn't
on
do
a
that.
banger of a match. That
Yeah,
was a good match too.
I don't think Orton as a babyface could have done that. They were pretty rabid towards Orton, but he was the heel, so he just went with it. But maybe Orton could have later. I don't think Orton could have done that in 2006 because he was still young and very full of himself. But Cena at that point, I think he's only like, I don't even think he's 30 years old at that point. Like he really knocked that out. Really knocked that out of the park. And probably one of
Do
my
you
favorite.
have?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna let you finish.
No, I was saying probably one of my favorite moments in wrestling history was that whole interaction with the ECW crowd and John Cena.
Okay. Do you have any like? It could be more than one because I have two. Do you have any like shocking moments, like oh my god, this actually happened moment?
With Cena, I mean, honestly, I'm one that right off the top of my head, and I know that they redid it the next time, and I don't want to. I could not believe he lost to The Rock at WrestleMania 28. I was very much going into that thinking this is the top guy in the company. This is a guy that doesn't lose. When he lost to The Rock, I remember being stunned. I remember absolutely being stunned over that. So it tells you again, this is a guy who got a lot of got knocked for saying he didn't put, he wouldn't lose. I know it's The Rock; it's not just some random guy, but um, that left me pretty speechless. Like I went to bed that night and I was really shocked by that. His Raw debut. What I never realized was all that those 3 years John Cena was on WWE, and I had to look this up. The first time he ever was on Monday Night Raw was that debut when he was drafted in 2005. He had never, had like nowadays it's not uncommon to see brands switching over.
Well, there is actually he has been on Raw before that. People will forget when they did the WWE draft in 2004.
Did he have a
He was
match?
still a Smack. No, he was still a SmackDown guy. He just random when it was SmackDown's turn to pick, he randomly came out. They were in Detroit actually. He came out in a Barry Sanders Lions jersey. This was like I want to say it was a month after WrestleMania. I think it was, to be honest with you, I think it was after Backlash. No. I think it was before Backlash.
Yeah, I think it was before.
Because yeah, it was before
Shelton
Backlash. Yeah. It was before Backlash. I think it was a couple weeks after WrestleMania because he was the US champ. He came out and did a rap.
I think it was only a week after Mania, to be honest. I don't
He
think it
did a
was.
rap. He did a rap on Bischoff. He did a rap on Paul Heyman. But he went to the SmackDown Tumbler and he pulls a ball out. That's when Paul Heyman was still the GM and he had the neck brace on, saying he's hurt. He's like, I may not be GM, but I'm making the next pick. you got one ball, but you still got no dick. And when he opened the ball, it was Triple H's name, and Triple H was on SmackDown. Jumped
Oh,
to
he sort of
SmackDown.
pulled. Okay.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
they did a trade where he ended up back on Raw again, and he was back in
Well,
the
then,
title picture again. Yeah.
then AI has steered me wrong. Not the first time, but when I went to look up, because when he was having his last match on Raw, I was digging through everything to see if he'd ever been made a Raw appearance before, and everything was just going back to his 2005. But I do remember Triple H's name being pulled because he was going to SmackDown, but I didn't realize it was Cena that pulled it. So
Now, has he had anything before that? Like when he was that like creator wrestler version of Cena? I can't recall, but I wouldn't be shocked if he did, because he did fight Jericho, and I think Jericho was a Raw superstar when he fought him at Vengeance. So he might have had a Raw appearance. I could
yeah,
be wrong before.
I honestly don't know. And everything I looked up, I never found that because I don't remember that far back. But yeah, I couldn't find
That
anything.
that makes me wanna go look on Peacock.
Yeah, but that was that shake up when he went to Raw. You knew it was coming because Raw was always the premier show, and you knew John Cena was kind of the biggest guy in the company at that point. So that was one. I mean, I'm trying to think of like shocking moments. I mean, I was not one when he came back for the Royal Rumble in 2008. I want to say where people were excited. I was not. I really did want him to be out for a little bit longer. But I mean, a lot of the shocking Cena stuff, believe it or not, for me, are matches that he lost. Because he didn't lose often. Edge cashing in the Money in the Bank on him was a shocking moment that I loved. Him losing to Daniel Bryan was a shocking moment that I loved. I did not picture in a million years at WrestleMania 27 that Miz was going to beat Cena at WrestleMania. I did not imagine
Me
that.
either. I thought he was going to lose it there, and we all got. I got one more funny moment I want to add. When he interrupted Edge and Lita's live sex celebration. Well, Ric Flair ruined it first. Ric Flair made it funny, but it's like Cena looked under the covers, saw like a half naked Lita, was like, "Oh, not bad." And he pulled the covers off, and she had Edge's shirt back on, and he hit her with an FU to
Yeah.
like. Yeah, I think that was the first time I ever saw her get hit with an FU. But nah, shocking moments for me. I'll say the night he got drafted to Raw, because mentally and personally that was a big deal for me, because I was such a big Cena guy as the Doctor of Thugonomics, and when he was on SmackDown before they moved to Friday nights, I couldn't catch UPN. If I wanted to go watch SmackDown, I had to watch the replay of it on Saturday afternoon at my great grandma's house, because she still had cable television. I'd walk to her house and every Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock and watch the replay of SmackDown. But when he got drafted to Raw, I was like, oh, good, I get to watch him live. I had DirecTV. I had, at the time, it was still Spike TV. They didn't go back to USA yet. So it's like I still had Spike. I was watching him every Monday live 20 years ago. And it wasn't long after that, SmackDown got moved to Friday night, and they moved to the CW. We caught CW on DirecTV, so I was able to watch SmackDown live on Fridays, and then Raw went back to USA. So it was like, I don't recall him really going back to SmackDown until they had that like brand extension again in 2016. So he went like damn near 10 years on Raw. So I was able to see him literally every single week. So that was big for me. And then two, that the promo he cut with Roman Reigns in 2017, like that felt real.
Would you forget your Lions, kid, or something like that? He said to him.
He's like, I'm here because you can't do your job. I can do this better part-time than you ever could full-time. Roman's like, they boo you first off because you suck, or they boo you because they see right through you. You're a phony, fake ass bitch. He's like, I'm here busting my ass every single week so you can hang out on the Today Show and all that. Like, it's like, you're not the guy, you're just a guy. Like, it was like, it hit me hard. Like, is this for real? Like, is this fake or is this real right now? Like, one of the greatest promos they both actually ever cut, and they did it together.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great, and I really was I was more on the Cena train at that point because like Roman had become the guy Cena was, right? Like the guy that the audience was rejecting, and then eventually Cena. I mean, Cena really, to me, I think the audience as a whole started like accepting him probably in like 2013, 2014, 15. But before that, man, when he would come on, I was always like, I want this guy to lose. Like I really, in my heart of hearts, was always rooting against him. Whether it was CM Punk, whether it was Edge, whether it was Kurt Angle, I was not pulling for John Cena. It really didn't start until his feud with The Rock, to be honest.
I did like his stuff he did with the Nexus too. Like when he didn't help Wade Barrett win the title, so he was quote unquote fired, but he was popping up every week as a fan, bought a ticket or signing autographs, and they finally reinstated him because he said, "I'll fight you in a chairs match at TLC." And then I was at that pay-per-view, and the whole night he took every member of Nexus out one at a time before he got to Wade Barrett, and it closed out with him and Wade Barrett in a chairs match. So it was a cool way to see that ending. But yeah, that was something.
I was pretty anti-Cena at that point. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really was. And to some degree, I still enjoy. I didn't, booing John Cena, but in the Nexus storyline, I can say like I was very, as a fan who wanted to see something different at the time, was very frustrated with how that whole story um, went off. I really was. Whether I don't think that's John Cena, he's not writing it, but a lot of people blame him for that. But I do think the Nexus should have won at SummerSlam. Um, I didn't love the stuff. I wanted Wade Barrett to beat him. I really did.
He did beat him before. He beat him at Hell in a Cell.
Well, for the
That's
belt,
how.
like I wanted him to lose the
Oh,
title to Wade Barrett. I really want the Nexus to be something more than it was. So I will say, there has in John Cena's long career, there's a lot of things that have happened with him that have now that I look back that have frustrated me. That it had really frustrated me in his career. So
well, after he feuded with Orton in 09, I was slowly like getting bored with him. Like when he had the triple threat with DX at Survivor Series, I was hoping he'd drop the title, but he retained it. But when he dropped it to Sheamus, that was like a shock. Like, oh my god, this rookie just beat him. And
that's
when
a favorite
2000,
moment. Yeah,
I
that's a
figured you
favorite
liked
moment.
that.
Yeah, I did. I love that. I really
Uh,
did.
when 2010 came, it's like I didn't care for Batista, so I was like rooting for him. And then I was about when he was feud with Sheamus again, I was rooting for Sheamus. But then when he got the Nexus storyline, I was rooting for him. But when Miz got involved, I once was a big Miz fan, especially in 2009, 2000 between 2009 2011. I was a big Miz guy. And when he was Mr. Money in the Bank and won the WWE title, I was like probably the only person in the world outside of
Oh no,
Alex Riley or Mike
I
Mizanin that was happy for him that he won the belt.
when Miz cashed in, I was my girlfriend at the time was at her house, and I was upstairs, and she's like, "Hey, you're gonna want to get down here." And I ran down. She goes, "He's cashing in," and I go, "Oh my god!" And when Miz won, I was going. My brother Mike, that's his favorite wrestler ever. He got to meet him. He got to meet John Cena too. He went to one of those Fanatics Fests in New York, but he'd always wanted to meet the Miz, and like we were like on cloud nine when Miz won that, and then when he beat Cena, I was like, okay, Miz is the guy, and then Miz would drop the title not too long after.
Yeah, and
Another frustration that I had with John Cena, to be honest.
I enjoyed their feud at that time when they had Maurice and Nikki Bella involved. I didn't want nothing a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was over. I was over the Cena hate. It wasn't anything great. I thought there could have been more, but I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I do think one of the lamest things that Cena ever did, and I as someone that's wearing a John Cena sweatshirt talking about his career, I probably sound very anti John Cena, but I did think it was very lame for that engagement to happen at WrestleMania. I really did not like that. I really did find it very cringe at the time.
But I mean, I think besides that time in between 09 and 11, I think any other time I really liked The Miz was when he had Damien Mizdow as his stunt double, or
Unbelievable.
when he had the Miz Taraj, like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel as the Miz Taraj in
Yep.
2018. I actually enjoyed them three together. Like people thought it was kind of corny with them, but I enjoyed the Miz Taraj.
I loved Awesome Truth. I love that.
Oh yeah,
You know,
that too. Yes, awesome. When they were heels. Yes.
so here's the thing that I guess I'll just address is a lot of that time in 2010, 11, and 12, I really felt like every time WWE had something that I enjoyed, they would kill it. You know what I mean? Like it really, and I think that's where a lot of Punk's frustration came from. And then when he then when he ended up getting the title, and we kind of got what we wanted, but we really didn't, because like he beat Cena at SummerSlam, and then Alberto Del Rio came out of nowhere, and I was like, God, why? But like Awesome Truth was another one where I was like, this is gonna go far, and then it just was dead, and just like the Nexus, it was a
So
frustrating time.
I felt like 2011 was like maybe one of Cena's best years of his career. I say that because you had him one of my favorite build-ups ever. You had him do a 1 year build-up for a WrestleMania main event with The Rock
I
that
did love
lasted
that.
a whole year. Like it never been done like that. You announced the main event for the following WrestleMania a year prior, and you build up to that. Greatest thing they've ever done. I enjoyed, and it led to one of the greatest rivalries of all time in the summer of 2011. And then when you had Miz and R-Truth getting involved, I really loved how they put him and The Rock for one night only as a team. They kept their word. See, unlike WrestleMania 28, where it was supposed to be one night only or whatever, once in a lifetime, they ended
Once in
up
a
doing it again
lifetime.
the following year. No, they kept their word at Survivor Series. Never before, never again. And
That
absolutely
was great.
loved I absolutely loved that tag team match. Him and Rock versus Austin Truth in Madison Square Garden. And it led to being one of my favorite Survivor Series of all time, to Survivor Series 2011. So
I agree. That 2011 was a good year, and I have to say, like the Cena Rock build, when they first said that this was going to happen in a year, I was like, "Oh my God, how can you do that?" And then when it played out, I went, "This was brilliant," and I could not wait for John Cena and The Rock.
and you
And
uh-huh.
that's when I became very pro John Cena, because I looked at The Rock, and this is just kind of the fan that I can be at times, or at least when I was younger. I looked at The Rock as a guy that betrayed us. You know what I mean? He went to Hollywood, and I was like, no, John Cena's here every week, and no matter what you feel about him, he's been here. And I did not want The Rock to beat John Cena. That was the guy.
And he had like in a whole year building up with The Rock, he had like 6 or 7 other feuds in the whole year. He had like feuds with The Miz, R-Truth, CM Punk, Alberto Del Rio, Kane. Am I missing anybody else?
Yeah, and Punk would go on to be his greatest rival. I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything as hot as that was in that time period. And to be quite frank, there was a lot of boring wrestling going on in that end of the 2000s into the early 2010s. There's a lot of boring stuff, and that really was hot. I mean, scorching.
Give me. I know you probably spoiled one, but give me at least 3 of your favorite Cena rivals with a favorite match.
Yeah, I would say Edge to me, or CM Punk is probably to me his greatest rivals, right? I think Edge, as much as Edge had already kind of been in WWE for a number of years, what catapulted, and this is something John Cena did very well, what really catapulted Edge to being a main event guy was him cashing in and having that feud with John Cena. And I thought that they did very well. I mean, Edge attacked his father and all those things. I really did. I'm going to say, like, I liked the match at SummerSlam '06 because I was there, but I think their Unforgiven match with the tables, it was like a tables, ladders, and chairs type of match,
Yep.
was probably their best. And what's interesting is that I'm pretty sure Toronto was more pro Cena than Boston was. Like it was like the reverse in their hometowns. So to me, his greatest rival is probably Punk, but I put Edge definitely at number 2. When it comes to CM Punk, um, as far as like that rivalry, I think speaks for itself. Um, 2011, I don't think there's much. I don't think it gets any better than CM Punk walking out of the company. CM Punk and Punk gets a lot of credit, but this stuff was really going on when he cut that promo on Cena, and you felt like, there was really tension backstage between the two of them. Like you believed it. You know what I mean? They did a really good job. I mean, there was a time where I was like, yeah, I don't think those two like each other. You know what I mean? Like that's how real it felt. So I would say Punk, obviously the Money in the Bank match. Actually, Punk is in 2 of my favorite Cena matches, period. Um, I got the Money in the Bank, and then they had a match on Raw, and I think the winner got to face The Rock or something like. I can't remember exactly what
Yeah,
happened.
it was on Raw, but they said that was probably the greatest Cena match ever, and I didn't know if that was true or not, but I remembered that Raw. Yeah,
I
the winner got
2013. I just remember, and I recall they did a pile driver, which had been outlawed in WWE. And I remember that spot when the pile driver happened, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? That's not a move they're supposed to be using because no one did it. And they, from what I had heard, is like John Cena and CM Punk just said, we're doing it. Like we're going to throw a pile driver into this match. So I have that match in there too. It's this third rival, like, this is tough because I was leaning towards Orton, but when you asked me to name an Orton Cena match, absolutely nothing is really coming to my mind that's really sticking out. So I'm going to replace him with AJ Styles and their Rumble match, where Cena, which is one of my favorite Cena moments, is when Cena beat AJ Styles and tied Flair's record. That's one of my favorite Cena moments too because I didn't think anybody would ever get near that record. So when he tied it, it was like, wow, I can't believe that happened. And it was the only time I think I would have rooted for AJ to not go over John Cena. So, and AJ Styles, I give him a lot of credit because that's a newer rivalry, but he's been in the company now almost 10 years.
mhm.
And I think he goes down as one of John Cena's greatest rivals. And to just throw a little bit more spice on that, and that was Royal Rumble 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But they had a match before that, and I remember it was
Some
going to be.
was it Money in the Bank or SummerSlam? Because
I think
they had like back-to-back pay-per-view matches in
so.
2016.
I think it was probably Money in the Bank, and I remember I had a softball game scheduled that night for 7 o'clock. And I went to all the coaches and said, I was a coach of one of the other teams. And I said, I cannot play at that time. And I said, I will not play at that time. I need someone to change because I am going to be watching John Cena versus AJ Styles because historically, I looked at AJ versus John as the match that Flair and Hogan never had in WWE because I looked at AJ Styles as, and I think you'll agree with me here, he was the biggest star that had never worked WWE. He was the face of TNA. And it's not and back in 2016, like there's no relationship between WWE and TNA, right? And I remember for years and years and years wondering why AJ Styles was not in WWE. So for him to have that match, the number one TNA guy versus the number one WWE guy, I just think that they've had all these matches now, but back in 2016, it was a dream match that you never thought could happen.
All right, so before I tell you the rest of mine, I'm gonna just go off and limb and say this. I just watched the trailer for Street Fighter, so I got to see Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns in this trailer.
Oh, very cool.
It looks insanely awesome. I can't wait to see this. I mean, pictures out there, two out of three are mine. Uh, I definitely put Edge. I know it's always a toss up with like an Edge or a Punk or Orton or something to say who was his greatest rival ever, but as a teenager watching it in '06, I just thought from the beginning of the year when he cashed in Money in the Bank to their final one-on-one match in TLC, I loved everything they did back and forth, and it never got old. Even if you had like RVD involved in a triple threat or this person or that person, they just told great stories, and I thought that was the greatest rivalry of '06. And my favorite match was the TLC match at Unforgiven '06 because it was the first one-on-one TLC match, and it was like, oh, you beat me in my hometown, I'm gonna beat you in yours, and I'm gonna reclaim my belt back. And I felt like Edge did get a pop, but yeah, Cena got booed when he came out, but then they all role reversed it. And then the FU off the top of the ladder through two tables was iconic when he won the belt and he got it back. So I put that up there. CM Punk, like you said, I mean, nothing's going to top the Money in the Bank ladder, their match at Money in the Bank in Chicago, where Cena's contract was, Punk's contract was up and he was going to walk out of the company and walk out of Chicago with the title. That was the first match I've ranked 5 stars since Undertaker's Shawn at WrestleMania 25. That was like the greatest 30 minutes ever, even though Vince and John Laurinaitis tried to get involved or even tried to get Del Rio to cash in. I still thought it was a great match. They killed it, and then it was anti-Cena there as well. But nothing. They tried to like make it similar, like One Night Stand. Yeah, they had a sign in the crowd: if Punk loses, we riot, or if Cena wins, we riot. You can't copy the OG sign. But that match, I still think that one was better than the one they did on Raw to fight The Rock, and because I don't remember that match, I've only watched it once. The one at Money in the Bank, I've watched multiple times, and then
more on the line than the Money in the Banks for sure. Yeah,
exactly. Cena had his career on the line too, because Vince said he was going to fire him if he lost the title, and he lost the title. But that's when Triple H came back, relieved him of his duties.
It's like you're not firing John Cena. Yeah,
COO, Chief Operating Officer. Now I put Randy Orton because you think this is going to remind me of like Stone Cold and The Rock. These were the two faces of the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yes.
And they've always, I was lucky enough to see them wrestle once in person at TLC 2013. I was there when they unified the belts, the big gold belt, the WWE title, and Randy Orton won it. But that's when they had it on that like clothes hanger deal.
Yeah.
So I was there for that match. But no, maybe my favorite Cena Orton match was their I Quit match at Breaking Point 2009, where Cena is like getting his ass beat. Like Orton, I remember Orton had him handcuffed to the ring post. He's like beating him with a Kindle stick. He took some like brass knucks. He's punching him in the ribs, and he's like, "You want to quit?" No. He's like taking punches to the ribs and the kidneys with brass knucks, and he's like, "No." He's taking whips with the Kindle stick. No. And he goes to punt, like he was about to punt him, and he's like, "You want to quit?" No. And all it took was Cena to handcuff him and lock him in an STF while he's handcuffed to make Orton say, "I quit." And like it was wasn't the brutalest match I've seen Cena in, but it was one of the most like ass whoopings I've seen him in that he won. That I could go back and rewatch over and over.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, he's definitely one of his greatest rivals. I just don't think the matches ever held the weight that an Edge, AJ, or Punk had. But I'll tell you one match too that I just want to throw out there, and I wouldn't say this is one of his best rivals, but he had his match with HBK at WrestleMania 23, which was pretty good. But then they wrestled on Raw on April 23rd, 2007. I had to look this up because I didn't remember the date. But I remember that match with Shawn Michaels, and I know Michaels is the best in-ring performer of all time. I think we both agree on that. John Cena proved that he could wrestle. That night where, so many a couple of years after, it'd been a little bit where they had been chanting, "You can't wrestle." And that match, I remember looking back going like, oh, he can do it when he needs to. You know,
I'm gonna go ahead and name like 3 or 4 rivals. Or I don't even want to call them rivals, like feuds he had. I was not a fan of and didn't care for. I didn't care for his feuds with Alberto Del Rio.
no.
Never didn't care for those. I definitely did not give any shits against Ryback. I felt like he tried to push Ryback up and it failed. Punk couldn't do it, so they tried to get Cena to do it, and it was a fail. I didn't care for his feuds with Dolph Ziggler, especially with the Money in the Bank briefcase and AJ getting involved. I might I might get a lot of criticism for these two. I really didn't give any care with because they try to recreate like Hogan and Sheik all over him and Slaughter, like USA versus Russia. Like he was talking like Cena is a good symbol for patriotism, but I felt like they did it better with Hogan in the 80s than Cena in the 2010s because it was the same old song and dance like, oh, don't talk bad about my country. I'll talk bad about yours. Like it got old. And then a fifth, I hope I don't get a lot of hate for this either. I think it was just a one-off. I didn't really care for his feud with Daniel Bryan. It was just a one-off, and it was two baby faces. They tried to make Cena a heel, and the crowd was 50-50, and it was a great match, but they could never make him a heel in a storyline with Daniel Bryan. It was always two baby faces head-to-head.
Yeah, and that storyline actually was one where Cena wasn't really the vocal point of it. Like they were trying to demonstrate that, Daniel Bryan's held back by the machine. And honestly, it was a babyface move because if you remember for that SummerSlam, Cena got to handpick his opponent. And he
Yeah,
picked
and he
Da-
listened to
Da-
us. Yeah, we wanted Daniel, but
and
it was
he
like
gave that.
after that, it was like pointless. Anytime they tried to work again, it was boring.
Well, wasn't when the crowd was Cena paying attention to this too? I can't remember when they were going to have the match, the like you said, the unification with Orton and Cena, and everybody was chanting for Daniel Bryan. I can't remember if Cena acknowledged it. I remember Mark Henry lifted his arm and stuff, but yeah, I mean, that was definitely to show that the machine wanted to hold back Daniel Bryan, but John Cena being the babyface is the guy giving opportunities, right? The as the champion. I didn't think Daniel Bryan would beat John Cena. So I was shocked by that. And then obviously, Orton came out and, you know.
Well, here's one more thing, Cena, we're going to talk about before we do like a quick prediction on whatever else we got, and then we close it out. But his final match with Gunther, who wins? Does he put Gunther over, or does he get that send off the correct way?
I think traditionally you would look at it as when someone has their final match, they lose. But since they've booked it to be Gunther and not, a Carmelo Hayes or a Solo Sequoia or
Or
a
LA Knight?
LA Knight, I lean towards John Cena is going to make Gunther tap out. I think he's going to end on a high note. I think that the ring should fill with everyone. I think he should have a Flair type send off. I mean, Michaels didn't have that. I mean, he had like 2 people come out, but I think there should be I think that ring should be filled with his friends, wrestlers in the back. I think this is where you break kayfabe. I think this is where everyone acknowledges what this man did for WWE. So I think he ends on top. But I could be wrong. But I think if you're gonna have him end in a win, then Gunther was the right guy to pick.
Now, the level of the face as being the face he's on that same pedestal as like a Stone Cold Steve Austin and a Hulk Hogan. Is as high as you can get as the face of the company and the face of a franchise or this or that. what them two had in common, now you could say had in common after 3 years ago, they have won. People forget Hulk Hogan's final match was in 2006 at SummerSlam against Randy Orton. That was the last time he
I
had a
was there.
WWE match,
I was there. Yeah.
and he won. But
Yeah.
no one expected that was going to be his final match, and he would never wrestle again. I didn't think that. I figured, he might come back a couple months later, might have a one feud send off or whatnot. No, that was his very last match, and he won. Stone Cold Steve Austin was able to get one more chance after 19 years. He had one last match with Kevin Owens and won, and he had the perfect send. He actually had not the send off we thought, but it was like, he ended it in Texas. Like he was able to have one more can of whoop ass to do without injuring his knees or his neck, and he did it in Texas where he wanted to do it. So that was kind of his send off. Not everyone else has been so lucky to win their very last. Now, Undertaker, if you want to count that cinematic match as his very last match, then yeah, that was his final send off too. I mean, but everyone else not so lucky. Like Shawn Michaels didn't win his last match. Goldberg didn't win his last match. Kurt Angle didn't win his last match. I don't even think Triple H. I don't even think won his last match. Whatever he had before he.
I think his last match was Batista. I think it was Batista.
I think it was. No, he did. Correct. No, his last match was Batista at WrestleMania 35. Yeah, Triple H did win his last match. Okay, yeah. So you can put Triple H with Stone Cold and Hogan and Undertaker. That's all I can think of when it comes to faces like that. But I think Cena, with how big he was, like he had the record of like what the most wishes granted for Make-A-Wish. He didn't have the record of merch selling like Austin did with Austin 316, but he sold quite a bit of shirts, especially with what he had with the reunion tour. You already shit on one retirement on Saturday night's main event. Don't shit on a second one. You might as well give them what they want. Everyone's already getting emotional that we're at the finish line in a couple nights. Let him finish strong. Like whether he makes Gunther tap out or pins him, let him put on a banger match. I don't care, like a 30-minute match, 40-minute match. Let him put on something because I feel like the whole show is literally going to drag on just Cena himself in a good way. Like if it's a 2-hour show, literally the first 40 minutes of the show are probably going to be those other 3 matches we're going to predict. And the rest of the show is video packages of Cena with a grand entrance, a 30-minute match, 40-minute match with Gunther. And then you got this 15, 20-minute farewell that they need to do the right way. The show's mainly going to focus on him. I'm calling it like that. He wins his final match, and whatever's left of the show, like if you got another 30 minutes left, it's going to be everyone sending him off in the sunset the right way, like paying their respects, shaking his hand, hugging him. Because I don't know who's all going to be there. Besides Kurt Angle, they said Kurt Angle's supposed to be in attendance for his final match. I had no words on like a Ric Flair or Undertaker.
I think Flair's still under contract with AEW.
Like they're gonna do something.
I assume Undertaker will probably be there. Yeah.
Besides everyone thinks The Rock's gonna show up and bring up the like, oh, remember I own your soul. You can't retire until I say so or whatever. People think that might happen too.
No, if The Rock shows up, it'll just be a hug and good luck. But Cena is very different than a lot of the guys that were just listed. I wouldn't say Shawn or Triple H. And Shawn Michaels ended his career in a storyline, right? So that's how which was very unique, right? Because I didn't think he was actually going to retire. I thought he was going to break the streak. But
I thought he was going to, no lie.
Yeah. So with Cena, he is very different than a Hulk Hogan, and he's different than a Stone Cold in the sure fact that his loyalty in a very different era than those guys wrestled in. Let's just make that clear. But his loyalty to WWE is something that we probably only seen out of Taker, Michaels, and Triple H. He never went somewhere else. He never, not that there was anywhere else to go, to be honest, but he never walked out of the company like Austin did. He was the company guy through and through. And I think loyalty to the company is that he had is something like we have not really seen before to the extreme. I mean, Shawn Michaels had walked out of WWE, right? Unprofessionally. Cena left, very professionally anytime he took time off. Um, he's just very different than a lot of what those guys did in their careers.
Yeah, and he could have he could have went to he could have went to TNA, he could have went to Ring of Honor, he could have went to New Japan. Yeah, he could have went to AEW, but he stayed. He stayed loyal.
Yeah, in very different circumstances. Like, I don't think Hogan ever wanted to leave the WWF, but the steroid stuff really kind of
Yeah.
led to him having to leave, and then WCW was like, "We'll pay you to come back," and he had to take that. But like, you look at Stone Cold. Yeah, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love his legacy, but could you imagine John Cena being given something and walking out of the company? He wouldn't ever do that. They were like, "Hey, you're
I
gonna."
can't. No, I
He
could
would just
never.
he just never would have done that. He always conducted himself. And I know he won a lot, but when they asked him to do something, he just did it. And some of those top guys didn't act that way. you know. And when Austin walked out, I actually agree with where Austin was coming from. Still, if they told John Cena you're going to go lose to Kevin Federline tonight, and he's going to go lose
Oh,
to Kevin Federline,
I despise talking about that feud.
so I think he is something very different than I mean, Kurt Angle, right? His last match is against Baron Corbin in the middle of the card of WrestleMania 35. Kurt Angle walked out of the company, right? I mean, he had his. I mean, that's another thing. Like John Cena, and I'm a guy who, is a recovering alcoholic. Kurt Angle walked out of the company. He had a pill issue and things like that. John Cena, tell me one thing that he's done that's like been, you know, wrong, right? Like he's never no domestic violence accusations, no drug abuse, no walking out of the company. Like he kind of is that guy that he says he is in his character, which
Mm.
is something you don't really see. You
Yeah.
you look back at top guys like Hogan and Flair, and behind the scenes, like the horrific things that they have done. I think The Rock is kind of squeaky clean too, but Austin wasn't. Austin had his issues. Warrior had his issues. Savage had his issues. John
Uh-huh.
Cena, like Kurt Angle,
Uh,
had his issues. He's squeaky clean in real life.
the only issue I think Cena would ever have is his version of house rules. Like, oh, you gotta dress like the freaking prom to eat in this dining room, or you can't wear shoes in
Yeah.
this part of the house, or
I
he
think that was
didn't
played up for the cameras, though. I really do.
he
You
did
know,
just like his relationship with Nikki, like he said he never wanted to get married and have kids, and now he's married, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tries for kids at his
he said
age.
he won't. He did it on a podcast. So that's his wife now. That's an agreement that they have. But what I'm just saying is, yeah, maybe he did those things at home where he's strict about stuff. But I can say like he is a guy, and you could say it's the wellness policy, and you can say this other things. He started a trend in wrestling where there's like, let's be honest, most of our people that we idolized as kids in professional wrestling behind the scenes were pretty bad individuals. And I
Yeah.
think Cena was the start of like, yeah, there's no skeletons there. And there's not a lot of skeletons and a lot of people on the roster these days. And I think Cena kind of started that trend.
All right. Well, I don't think they'll add another. I think they're just going to stick with 4 matches, so we'll stick with that. But tell me who you think could win these other ones. You got AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus Javon Evans and Leon Slater.
AJ and Dragon Lee retain. Yeah.
I don't think it's a tag team title match. I think it's a non-title match.
Oh, it'll just be a very good match. You know.
Yeah. The fact that it's a non-title match, I wouldn't be surprised if they give this one to Javon and Leon Slater, but I'll just go ahead and also say AJ Styles and Dragon Lee win, even if it's a non-title match. Bailey versus Soruka.
Bailey? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bailey too, even if Zarya gets involved. Because Zarya, if you're watching NXT, Zarya is in a feud with Soruka. And then finally, it's just champion versus champion, no title on the line. But we got Cody Rhodes versus the new NXT champion Oba Femi.
Yeah, I mean, if Obi Femi is which I honestly want it to be Ricky Starks, but that's just me
too.
I do think this guy Oba Femi is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I think if you are going to have him come to the main roster soon, there's nothing that could spark that more than a win over the WWE champion. However, in a company where you are the face of the company, should you be losing to someone from NXT on network television? I would say this is going to end in a schmoz, where Oba Femi is. I know he's a baby face, but I wonder if he's going to come to the main roster as a heel. I wouldn't be surprised if he snaps, gets disqualified. There's a beatdown on Cody Rhodes, and maybe this leads to him coming to the main roster. And I know you'll probably say, well, he has the NXT title. Well, a lot of people have come to the main roster, whether NXT champion, they can fix that real quick.
Yeah, Kevin Owens done it. Yeah, KO did it. That's all I remember who did it.
KO was wrestling matches on the main roster. I feel like
I don't think Finn Balor didn't come on the main roster as NXT champion. No, he just dropped it to Joe. I thought Joe came in as NXT champion for a short time, then he lost it.
I don't know. I can't remember. Did Aleister Black, when he was in that tag team, was he still the NXT champ, or had he lost it to someone else? I don't remember. But
I think he lost it.
You could do something along those lines. I don't know. I think that besides the John Cena match, I mean, that's got to be the most hyped match on the card, because they haven't done that in a long time. WWE champion versus NXT champion, and I think that's I love that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got nothing against Oba Femi. I think he's great. I just didn't think he was going to win it back from Ricky Saints at Deadline. I really wanted Cody versus Ricky. That would have been a great match for Peacock, because I don't think they're not on NBC no more. That would have been great to see. But I think Cody and Oba, I think, could be great. But I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes. There's no title on the line. Either way, Cody's going to win. Even if Ricky gets involved or not, because Ricky is a heel now.
Ricky or Tony D'Angelo there has been showing up. So I don't see this going. I see a schmoz happening.
I think it opens the show too. I think Cody and Oba kick off Saturday night's main event, and then it closes out with Cena and Gunther.
That's how they should do it, because there's rumors that Cena's going to open, and I'm like, don't do that.
You can't. Yeah, no, I think that was false advertisement, a hoax.
I hope.
But I'm now, unfortunately, I'm not going to watch it live. I mean, I'm going to watch it later that night, so I'm going to do my best to stay off of social media. I'm going to have to mute everything, mute every notification, go on do not disturb mode, because we have a Christmas parade that weekend. I'm going to be busy with that. Got to pull a truck, got to drive a truck in a parade and all that. I might go out and drink a few, but when I get home, I'm going to watch it. Either that same night, or I'm going to get up super early in the Sunday morning and watch it before I start watching my NFL games of the week. But I will tune in, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we might as well finish it. And we knew it was coming. I know everyone's getting emotional that it's about to be over, but I guess you could say it's time now. I mean, I enjoyed watching him for 20 plus years, but I feel like it's time to move on and let the next generation take over, and he's going to pass the torch to somebody else to be the next face.
Well, I think he's already done that. I think Roman has clearly been the face of the company for like the last 10 years. I was shocked by the retirement because I just figured Cena would be, come and go here and there for years to come. I do think what he did here was unique. I do, as a fan, have a lot of issues. And again, they're not made, but like I would have done things. I'm not a wrestling creative writer or anything like that, but a lot of stuff that they did, I would have done differently. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have limited the dates, but he said that's what they told him. I would have tried to nail that heel turn out of the park instead of just doing it because really it just came off as like, let's just check this off the box as something that he could do in that last run, which it kind of fell flat, and then he had to pivot back. I would have had the last match in Boston. We know how that goes. I do love what they did in Boston. Don't get me wrong. That was one of the craziest reactions I'd ever seen. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff, and and I hope Cena sticks to his retirement. A lot of wrestlers don't. He's not 50 yet. He will be soon. But what a crazy journey, and when you really think about it, it really tells you that the Attitude Era is so far gone because this was the first star, and I'll throw Brock Lesnar in there, but he didn't stay around. This is the first star of the Ruthless Aggression Era, and he is retiring. So that tells you how far away the Attitude Era really was.
Yeah.
Which was, 24 years ago it ended. So.
Well, all right. Well, this was great. Thank you again for coming on. We went longer than expected for just two people, but it was worth it. But let them know where they could find you before we wrap this up.
Left Freedom Ring with Dan Beaulieu YouTube channel, Facebook page. We should have episodes coming back in 2026.
Awesome.
We'll see. Don't know what, but if you look on Facebook, there's a lot of people interested in coming on the show. So I think it's time to bring it back.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'm at Big Hoss 337 on X, Facebook, Instagram. You know where to find me. This was great. Thank you again. Hope you enjoy Cena's last match, and we'll see where we go from there. But thank you for everyone tuning in. Y'all enjoy y'all's weekend. Stay warm, and I will see you soon down the road.
All right, Marcus. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
All right, man.